You are listening to Eastmans Fly Cast, an adventure fly fishing specific podcast covering travel, tactics, and next level insight. Now your host, Brian Barney.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Finally sitting down recording this solo. Man, I've been just crazy busy here. Construction company and run the podcast, and then also just trying to fish as much as I can. And it's been bear season. Spring is just so fun in Montana. But yeah, I want to sit down and record a solo. It's been just a crazy spring for me. I didn't get to travel quite as much as I would have liked, just with all the COVID-19. It didn't feel right, and also just managing my family here and trying to manage a pandemic and figure out how serious it's going to be and the projections and things. Just a wild time, but I did get in a lot of fishing. So probably fished 50 days this spring, I'm sure, if not more. I just get a lot of time running the construction company in between days, and then also afternoons and evenings. I just live right here on the Madison, and then surrounded by so many good rivers. And I did travel. I did fish the Ruby, Beaverhead, Big Hole, just exploring more of the lower ends on those rivers, and Jefferson, fished the Madison. I got to get to some of these bigger rivers. I had fun really getting hooked this spring on fishing streamers, like just hunting for these big brown trout. And so that's pretty much what I focus on, these streamers, and paying attention to the water temperature. You know, it really seems like around 50 degrees is the temperature mark, but you know, these big fish, they'll eat a streamer even in colder water throughout the winter, especially these big predatory brown trout, you know, that we have. So I had a bunch of fun fishing those things, and probably caught more big fish this spring than prior years. You know, I probably caught a dozen fish on streamers that were over 20, like in between that 20 to 24. Never got anything bigger than that. But that's what I'm hunting for, that true specimen that goes over 24. I can't believe I haven't found them yet, but we're just getting into spring and summer. These big fish are going to really start to eat, and so I'm just going to continue to hunt them throughout the summer. But I did take advantage of some dry fly hatches. Last Sunday, I got out with my family right before our river mudded up. I think it's like, what is it today? May 23rd. River mudded up. And just went chocolate mud. We had some burns up a couple big drainages that really dumped a lot of mud in the river. But I got out Sunday. Our spring kept really cool. Got out with my family, and gosh, I swung a good one up on the streamer too. I hooked one that came out of the water that looked like he was 24. Just hooked him and came off. You know, I fished that articulating bug. I do fish a couple different hooks, and they're big hooks. They usually get a good grip, but I don't fish any barbs. I don't know why. I just started practicing that years ago. I know you catch more with barbs or whatever, but I just don't like scarring up the fish, or gosh, if he really eats that thing, gets hooked in his gill plate or something like that. You know, I don't need him that bad. I'd rather do a service to the fish. And so, I mean, everybody has to make their own decisions. You know, I know you talk to Mike Eastman or Guy Eastman, they'd never fish a fly without a barb. You know, it's just you just catch them better and they come off and they're hunting for those big fish. So, I mean, everybody has their own theory on things. I also, man, I'd hate to hook myself with one of those big barbs. I'm sure I've had a barb into me, but man, oh man, they're a nightmare to get out. I got to remember that fishing line trick. But yeah, I've had fun fishing those things. Got into some decent dry fly hatches. You know, I was talking about wanting to really go see that squalla hatch on the western side of the state. And I didn't go see it, but I did find some squallas low on the Madison here and caught a couple off dries and got a couple more to eat it. So that was fun. And yeah, and we're just coming into the funnest time of the year, salmon fly hatch. Like I told you guys how much I love the salmon fly hatch, but it's a 3-inch dry fly that hits in all these biggest trout. Like a lot of times fishing a dry, like I caught them pretty good on some March Browns. I got them on, the caddis. Hiked up the canyon, got some on some caddis. I got some on squalla. Actually, the best dry fly hatch I've seen all year This is so stupid. So I was fishing this river system, and I'd walked down, and like I told you guys, I've been working these streamers. So walked just miles of this river system, and then every run I just throw my streamer and swing it in through there, swing it in through there. It was actually a pretty good day. I think I hooked 5 or 6 that day. Really nice fish. And anyways, I was coming back up, and it was an overcast kind of rainy day. I thought it was too cool or too cold for a good dry fly hatch, but those blue wing olives came off, a little mayfly. And I went to this run. In this run, I found this run. I will return to this run time and time again. There's a bunch of big fish that sit in this run. Bunch of fish, 20 to 24 inches sitting in this run. And I came up, and they were just eating these blue wing olives, hitting the water like crazy. And here I've got my streamer rod, my sink weight line, and I can't even fish a dry fly. I should have. So it's tough to bring multiple rods and bring, it's easy in the boat, but when you're wade fishing, it's like one rod. But I've got to have like a dry fly reel with a dry fly line in my kit of stuff, because I came across the most epic dry fly hatch ever. All of these fish are sitting in this run, 20 to 24 inches, just these beautiful colored up browns, and they're just coming up and eating these blue wing olives right in front of me. I can't even fish a dry fly. I thought about running all the way back to my truck and back to this run. These dry fly hatches, they can come on and be epic for 15 minutes and then turn off, but I really didn't even have enough time to make it to my truck and make it back. So I climbed out in the river and then climbed on this big rock, and I just sat out there and I just watched them. I should have, sometimes I just take in the experience, which is really good. I think I need to do that, but I should have pulled out, and filmed the thing, so I at least could have showed you guys or had this clip of just this epic brown trout eating. Like, it's one of the coolest moments I had all springtime long, sitting up on that rock, and for 5 minutes, I just watched these giant brown trout just come up and eat these blue wing olives. And finally, I couldn't take it anymore, and I had to throw a streamer over there and strip through. And I actually caught my best fish of the day, like 23, 24, just this big-headed male brown trout that ate a black streamer that I pulled through there. So that was killer. In the end, I did catch one, but just the most epic dry fly hatch, and I missed it. And a lot of times, these dry fly hatches, like fishing these caddis, these March browns, I found some good pods of fish. Like Sunday, found a good pod of fish. But I don't, usually it isn't these great big fish that are eating dry flies, but sometimes, well, I shouldn't say that are eating these smaller hatches. But sometimes, like I hit in this river, the food source was just too good. They couldn't ignore it. It was the springtime, and all these blue-winged olives were just coming down on the top of the surface. They couldn't help themselves. It was such a great feeding opportunity for these big browns that they started eating on. And not that you can't find a big brown sipping on the edge somewhere in a line eating dry flies when it's good like that. But a lot of times these smaller hatches, it's just not enough food. It's just like how much energy are they going to use to get this food, And so a lot of times you won't see them eating midge hatches, or won't see them eating Baetis or blue wing olive caddis, things of that nature. That day I did, but most of the time they're smaller. And so a lot of these pods of fish I've been getting into, you might catch a really good one, 16, 17, maybe 18 inches, and you can find the exception eating on those hatches. But that's why I've been so focused on these streamers, is that thing really hunts for that next level of fish. It's been so fun, like just finding the biggest, deepest holes, and then trying to be effective in figuring out my angle of this streamer. The farther upstream, the more it sinks, and then just swinging it across. I've had good luck with swinging it across, and then I've had good luck with the strip pull, like strip pulse with the end of the rod. Strip pulse, strip pulse, strip pulse. And that fly kind of moves and stops, moves and stops, moves and stops. And man, it seems like that's when those things are eating it. A good one I lost on Sunday, ate on like, I was swinging the whole run, and then I threw one back up to the inside of the hole, the inside of the corner, and then stripped it through there in the inside, and he hit about the third strip or whatever. Great big fish. Oh, I don't get frustrated when I lose fish. Like, it's just part of the process. It's, you're going to lose some fish, and A lot of times it's not going to be anything you do. Like I try to react quickly when I hook a fish. I don't want to hooking a fish down below you is a recipe for disaster. So I always try to get to the side of the fish. So if I hook him and he's downstream of me, I want to try to get downstream on the bank and get completely sideways where I can fight that fish. But yeah, I swing and gosh, you just any kind of fishing, you just miss some and you just lose some. But it's heartbreaking when you're floating all day, or I'm floating all day, and I'm looking to just hunt this one special fish, or get this one encounter, and I finally hooked him in there, did everything right, and just wag, wag, wag out of the water and then off. And it's just like, oh, it just crushes me. So most of the time I don't get upset when I lose fish, but that one just crushed me too. But what do you do? It's like, I'll be upset, but I'm on the river, I'm fishing. Go try to hunt up another one. It's all I can do, I didn't get any more on the streamer that day. It was pretty good streamer fishing. I was just out with my family, so I say fishing all day. It was like a 4-hour float or something like that, but super fun. And it's just been super fun to target these bigger fish this spring and chase these things. Like I say, just a bunch of days, just trying to go out with all my free time. Anytime I'm off work or get an early afternoon, try to get and hit some holes. And I'm just fortunate where, I live next to all these killer rivers. I do want to start, as I talk about traveling or finding these big fish, I've been fishing like some good streams that are close to me, the Ruby, Beaverhead, Big Hole. Like they hold some big fish, but they're not the biggest streams in the world. The Jefferson starts to get bigger. Madison's bigger. It'll hold good fish. But I'd like to start traveling. I went to the Missouri once this year, but I'd like to, that Missouri can hold such big fish. I'd like to start swimming my streamer around in there a lot more. And, it's within a couple hours. I'm not sure which, there's so many places to fish it. And then fishing the Yellowstone, some of these bigger rivers, really see if I can hunt some of these bigger fish up. But it's been fun. Man, I just love a good hard fighting brown trout. And really learning how to cover that water effectively. Like just, I've fished streamers before out of the boat going down. And I've fished them before, but I've never focused on them like I have the last year or so. Just trying to learn absolutely everything about it, and it hunts the biggest fish in the river, so I'm just hooked on it. But I try to have all my rods in the boat. I've actually nymphed way less this spring. I haven't nymphed hardly at all. I'll have a nymph rod in there, but usually I'll have Dad nymph the hole. I'll swim a streamer through it, something like that. Nymphing is so effective, and I love catching fish, and I love nymphing. I've just been on a different trip this spring. But yeah, we're coming into the funnest season, coming into the summer, and right now we're coming into salmon fly season, 3-inch dry fly that hits the water. And the difference, so getting back to my point, sorry, I got lost in the woods there a little bit, but the salmon fly hatch and some of these bigger hatches, salmon flies, the hoppers, squallas, they target these bigger fish. These bigger fish, all of a sudden it makes sense for them to eat dry flies because there's a 3-inch dry fly coming down the water, and it's a huge meal for these trout. And these trout are trying to put on their weight. It's summertime where they get the best food source, the most food coming down. And so salmon fly, I just love traveling around fishing this hatch. It's just the absolute funnest because it targets these big fish. You never know what you're going to hook. And then there is no funner way to catch a fish than on a dry fly, to watch that fish make a move and come up and grab it. Sometimes they explode on it. Sometimes they come up and sip it. Just depends, but what a hatch. And so it hits multiple different rivers over here. In fact, I've got word that, it's down in Idaho is where it starts off. So it starts down there on the Henry's Fork. So I've got to just get an Idaho fishing license and head down there. Jeez, it's an hour from my house or hour and a half from my house. So I've got to make a run down there. It's, like I say, May 23rd today. It's about the right dates down there. And those things are going to come off. It's going to be good eating down there. And there's good fish in that system. So yeah, I've got to get that Idaho license. In fact, I think I'll do that as soon as I get off this podcast and try to plan a day to get down there. Like I say, construction's been going crazy here lately. We're doing a big house, but just try to take a day, sneak away for a day and get down there. What it needs, it's May 23rd today. it's raining, snowing, sleeting outside. It's cold, like maybe around 30 degrees. I'm gonna get out fishing somewhere today, but let it warm up, get some of my necessaries done here, and get out fishing. But I do want to travel over and get that river on that dry fly. It's just so worth it. It's a great time of year, and it gives me a great excuse to travel to these other rivers and try to hunt for these big fish. And it's such a technical way to fish. We throw that big dry fly, but it's all about mending it and stacking your line and line management. And then it's not just standard casts. Like all our rivers, they're getting all the snow melt right now. And so like I said, the Madison was chocolate brown. It actually cleared up because it got cold again, to where it's fishable today, which I think I'll probably hit the Madison. But as these rivers start to clear after this runoff, these salmon flies will start hitting and working their way up these streams. And then to fish these things, the water's all high up into the grass and into the banks and under the trees and under the brush, and the water's just blowing down through. It really pushes the fish to the edges, and then they're eating these dry flies, and so you're constantly trying to throw your cast under these trees, sidearm it in there, skip it in there, and then as it's drifting down, it's about ready to get hooked up in a bunch of brush that's hanging down in there, and you kind of skate it across there, and then as soon as you get it to the edge, you let it go, and it just flows on down through. And been doing it for so long, you just start reading the water better, where the fish are going to be sitting, really keeping your bug in the water, mending on it, and then it'll float right back up, and really skating it around the edges and technically fishing it, and then all of a sudden that brown trout will eat it. So much fun. And they're all those bigger next level fish that are looking for that bug. I mean, you'll get some small ones too, don't get me wrong. They're trying to put on weight too, but a lot of these fish that eat are just those giant ones. And the water temperature is so perfect. The fish has so much fight to it. Just in for an absolute rodeo. So yeah, going to start down there in Idaho. I got to make a trip or two down there. Next, it'll start popping on the big hole. And I really like the main sections of the big hole, the canyon and salmon fly and divide and all through there. I would like to find it lower on that system too, because it's closer to me, and I've never really fished it, like coming into Twin right there. So I'm definitely going to get ready, look at my calendar, try to find some dates, and really go chase this thing around and head there. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had a podcast. Had it scheduled for 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and I saw the Skype call coming through right as I was recording this solo at 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. But no big deal. What a great podcast. Had Paul Bork on. Paul Bork, he's been in competitive fly fishing and won gold medals and coach, but the guy is just so fishy and loves to fish, loves fly fishing. What a great student of the game and great podcast. And boy, that was really cool. Great conversation. But let me get back to what I was talking about on the solo episode. So I was talking about chasing these salmon flies and chasing this hatch all over. It's just a great way to see Montana when the water's right. So I talked about the big hole. I love fishing that thing. One of my favorite rivers to fish during that salmon fly. And so many good browns come up and eat that thing. So love fishing that big hole. I'll be over there. I've seen a touch of it on the beaverhead. I would love to get some of it on that thing. And then it starts kicking off on the Madison. First on the lower, and then throughout the canyon, and then gets to the upper and all those sections. And really the hatch goes on for about a month. And when it's right out my back door like that, living here in Ennis, Montana, and it's on the Madison, I'm just down there fishing it nonstop. Every evening, every free day I can. So I definitely gotta save up some days to play hooky from work here and sneak out for this salmon fly hatch. So I can't wait. And I fished a couple different ways on this Madison too. I love a drift boat and throwing out of a drift boat. The absolute funnest, best way to cover water, best way to catch these things. But I don't always have not everybody's on my schedule, and so sometimes I've just got a night or I've got 2 hours. and I don't have anybody to go with. And so I'll do a lot of bank fishing for the salmon flies. Now, some rivers can be really tough to do this on if there's a lot of brush or a lot of trees where you can't walk down the banks. But the Madison in the valley, it's like high desert, so it's fairly open in times, especially different sections. Some sections can be tough to do this, but I'll walk down that bank line and just toss that thing. Like salmon flies, they're either eat it or they're not. You don't stand and fish one run for 20 minutes. You throw your fly in there and one line, two lines, maybe three lines where those fish can be, and then you're moving down. So I'll just cover miles. I'll go out in the evening on the Madison and I'll go walk 5, 6, 7 miles of bank line, up and then maybe cross and walk down the other side. But I'm just continuing to walk, and I stick in that fly in every little good run I can find, trying to get those fish up. But the biggest fish in the river eat it. And really, out of the Madison, I mean, I fish it year round. I know it holds good fish, but there's just something about that hatch that just brings them out. I see more big fish that I don't even know exist in this river. I see a lot of those 24-inch plus fish. Not a lot. I see a handful. And then so many fish, 20 to 24, but just big, filled-out fish. My buddy sent me a picture the other day. I've caught so many of these fish over the years. And I've just been out for the love of being out and the love being on the river and chasing big fish. I've never been one that has to get a photo with every fish or anything like that of that nature. But it is fun to capture it with a nice photo of a good fish if you land them. And especially as I've gotten more into photography and then starting this podcast too, as I need content to release and things. So trying to be better about at least snapping a few pictures every day I'm out. That's not too much to ask, is to capture some content along the way. But I've caught so many big fish over the years I didn't even get pictures of. I know, like my biggest one caught off the salmon fly hatch. It was in this wade fishing only section. And I remember crossing in the summertime, making a deep cross and getting on the other side of the river where nobody was at. And it's middle of the summer here in Montana where the pressure is on. There's a lot of guys fishing around. And so I crossed, got over to the other bank and started fishing my way down. And it was good fishing. I was landing fish, 20-inch fish here or there. And I got down to this big corner and threw my fly, and it kind of drifted off the bank line. And I saw this flash of this big fish come up for it. And it was a big rainbow. I think I saw a red flash, big rainbow. So it was like this big, like 25, 26-inch fish came up for this thing, and I missed him. So I just sat there on the bank, and I just waited. I gave it 10 minutes. And after that 10 minutes, I threw that fly back on that bank and made that same drift right down that line off that island. And this giant brown came up and ate that thing. And I played him in and fought him all the way to the bank. And I mean, at the time, I don't even think I had a camera with me or a phone with me or anything. I may have had my phone or I may have left it because I had that gnarly cross, I thought I might be swimming. And I remember I landed that thing. I just held him there in the water, just bathed with him. No camera, no nothing, just me in that moment. But it was this giant, I marked him on my rod tip, like 28-inch off a dry fly, brown trout. Just crazy. Released him back in and never saw that fish again. I've gone back to look for him during the hatch and haven't caught him. But the wild thing is that's not the fish I saw that I missed at first. So I release him back in the water, and I just take in the moment there. And I think, you know what? I'll throw it back in there and see. And usually you get one fish out of a hole. It's usually all you're going to get, especially salmon fly. And I threw that thing back in there off that bank line, that same drift, and that giant rainbow came up and ate it. And it was like a 26-inch rainbow sitting in that same spot. I think they had actually run up from the lake and were eating those salmon flies or whatever. But two giant fish back to back, no photos of them, no nothing. But, the fun is in doing it and being out there and the excitement of getting it. Like I really, I don't need to prove it or anything, but it just reminded me of that because my buddy sent me a picture from the salmon fly hatch of this giant 24, 25-inch fish with this huge belly on it. I can't even remember catching that fish. I caught so many good fish throughout the salmon fly hatch over the years. chasing this thing around. I couldn't even remember which fish it was or where I was at or what. And he sent me this picture. I'll have to post it up on my social media, just this giant big brown trout. But it's so fun. There's so many fish like that that really come out and eat during that hatch. And so that's the time I choose to chase it around. Madison will be good for a month. And some years it hits later than other years where it can last into July and then go right into hoppers. And hopper was an awesome hopper hatch last year. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to these summer months and fishing hard, and then, just these new skills I've acquired with this streamer. And like I say, I've always fished the streamer, but to really focus on it, hit these bigger holes, and then you don't catch as many fish. Some days you might not even turn a fish, but the ones that do eat it are those big predatory fish. And so I'm really going to focus on that as well. And it's I get so... during the salmon fly hatch, I get so crazy about throwing a salmon fly and watching them eat that dry fly, and it's bigger fish. And so really that's all I'm fishing, but I do need to mix and match. The salmon fly hatch is, it attracts so many people, so many boats going down, where I could take a day and fish streamers on the lower end of the hatch when those fish are eating, and sneak out of the pressure and probably catch just as good and just as many fish, So I'm really pumped to fish this streamer around this summer and really fish it hard. I'm loving the swing, and then I'm loving that strip pop. They're sure eating that thing good, and it just brings out those bigger fish. And I want to see some of those 25-inch plus fish here this summer. So fish it there, and then the Yellowstone has a pretty good salmon fly hatch as well. I've got a good buddy that does really well on it, fishes it, comes up with some really nice browns. I wouldn't mind traveling over and doing a drift or two on that thing as well. And just so much great fishing around me, but I love exploring these new systems, and so I just need to continue to mark off on my map different still waters to fish and different rivers I need to float yet, and really explore around and fish as much as I can. I'm absolutely loving it. So I've had some good days, caught some good fish, and just been fishing so much. And you guys probably, I hate making bonehead maneuvers. I hate making stupid moves, and whether that's casting a fly into a tree or casting your fly into the tip of your rod, or the really stupid mistakes. Like, I've never made a mistake with my boat or my drift boat trailer. You check everything like crazy, Make sure you're always getting your rod back in your truck. You don't leave it sitting somewhere. You just, all the multitude of bonehead maneuvers you can make, or that you've seen your buddies make over time. I think I've seen a lot of them. Gosh, one of the biggest bonehead moves I made is in the shuttle. The shuttle, usually it's like the guy with the boat does all the thinking. He's got the shuttle lined up. But there's things that happen. Sometimes your shuttle driver doesn't show up down at the bottom, or, in these shuttle companies, a lot of these companies, you're not talking to a human being. You're calling and leaving a voicemail on an answering machine. So if they're not working that day because it's a holiday or because they didn't get enough boats, like, you don't get a call back. Your boat just doesn't show up. And I think if you're a guide or if you're on the water every day, you get to build a relationship with these companies and these people where you don't get let down as much. And not that I've had a bunch of bad scenarios, but definitely a handful of times I've had to jog up to the other access, and sometimes that can be as much as 10 miles. Or I remember one night I got down. This was my own bonehead move, so this has been 10 years ago at least. And went over and fished a different system. And so we're 3 hours away from the house. And it was one of those ones where you're fishing late, where we're just pulling the boat in and it's dark, doing the last little bit in a headlamp. It was awesome salmon fly fishing, and we got them pretty good. And it was my buddy's boat. And so anyways, I went and I jumped in his how do we do it? We left my truck at the bottom where we were going to pull out at, and then we drove his truck up top, launched the boat, and put in. Well, I jumped in his boat. I was so excited to be fishing and hanging out that we're joking around, making laughs, and I put my keys in his cup holder. So we got down to my truck, and there was no keys down there, and it was 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night. I remember I had to jog the whole way back, and god dang flip-flops like 12 miles that night back to my truck. They had made a fire down below. Oh my gosh, I thought I was never going to live that one down. That was a huge bonehead maneuver. But you learn your lesson. You make a couple mistakes like that, and it's like no more. And I've been fishing. I think I hate to put anybody on blast, but I think Todd that was on the podcast, I think he messed up a shuttle over here in the Madison Valley last year. I think it was with his keys or with his. It was something like that where, I don't need to babysit. Most of my buddies, they're good to handle their own stuff. Like, I guess it'd be smart to check on things. But I just figure when I pick somebody up that's been fishing a bunch, he's going to have his keys with him. He knows the program. I don't need to go, hey, you got your keys? But I guess maybe I do. So I think Todd messed up his shuttle last year. And my wife always saves us for shuttles. She's saved me quite a few times where call in and I've got calls from people that that are just acquaintances that know I live in Ennis and they've been trapped or no shuttle or shuttle didn't come. Heck, I think some people, which is pretty dirtbag to do, just figure they'll call me when they're over here, which is fine. I don't mind running a shuttle for guys, but just give me a heads up that that's what you're doing. You can't call me at the takeout without your boat and trailer and go, hey, can you give me a shuttle? I don't have any shuttle, and you knew the whole day you didn't have a shuttle. That's pretty dirtbag, but I know things can happen. I don't mind giving guys rides. So, but yeah, I haven't made that mistake in a while, but I have had a couple mistakes here this spring. You fish enough days, just make a mistake. And I get so sure-footed. I wade with felt, which I know, I think I have a buddy that uses those Patagonia bars or whatever, and he says those things are just as good as using felt. Because felt, I guess you can aquatic species or aquatic snails or invasive aquatic species you can move on your felt if you don't totally dry it out. So you definitely need to be careful of that. But just nothing grips like felt. Oh my gosh, it just sticks. Those rocks. I'm sure-footed, but those rocks, God, they're just so mossy and slick. Those round river rocks, just ridiculous. Especially the Madison, it's just been ridiculous. So I have so much confidence in felt. I can go anywhere, do anything, big wades. I've just done them over the years. And I mean, the last swim I went for, or when I went down the river, was probably 15 years ago, trying to do the beaver head, and basically fishing with guys that are 6'4", and I'm 5'7" at best, and wading spots that come up to the top of their waders. And I tried to wade the spot or go where they did, and I made it across, getting a little wet, but then coming back across, it just got too deep and just swept me away. I couldn't keep my feet on the bottom anymore, and ended up having to swim with my rod to the shore. Oh my God. Like I say, I hate those bonehead moves. Everybody got a good laugh out of it, but so that's been 15 years since I've been down in the river. I just sure-footed, keep my feet moving. I know what I can do and what I can't. Ton of confidence in the river, fishing those coastal rivers, whatever it is, I can wade fish. But this spring, I was doing this small river system, and in Montana we have high water fishing access. So anywhere there's high water, you can walk. So we end up wading down a lot of these streams, and so I walked way down this river, a mile or two down this river. And I was just crossing the river, and I wasn't even really looking. I just kind of go by feel, and I must have kicked this huge rock under the surface that there was just no moving my foot around. So I kicked it. It went straight down in the water, arms first, soaking wet. It's been so many years since I've done that, but soaking wet. It was about 50 degrees or so. I kept fishing. Like I definitely got some in my waders. The good thing, it was a rainy day, and so I had my my rain jacket over the top of my waders zipped up, so I didn't get too much water down my waders, a little bit, and then my arms got wet, up to my shoulders or whatever. But I kept fishing, finished the day out. So that was one of my bonehead maneuvers. Luckily, nobody was with me to see me tumble into the river. The other one was a big one. This was a hard one not to get angry at myself for. So, fishing with my dad, and we're rowing the top stream up there, and I'm streamer crazy lately, like I've been telling you guys, and so I've got this weighted line I've been fishing, and a lot of times out of the boat and on the Madison, you can fish a floating line with a streamer with a decent leader length because they're eating coming off the bank, coming back to the boat, and really, you can get that thing a weighted fly, you can get it deep enough with a floating line. But I've been fishing a lot of weighted lines lately. For swinging, getting it deeper and deeper runs. And so, trying to fish that out of the boat as well to really get a good swim back to the boat and be more effective. So I'm fishing that. And my dad's got a habit of, he's good on the sticks and he's a really good fisherman. I love being out with him. He's just a great fishing partner. In fact, I may get out with him today. But he's got a habit to kind of get lackadaisical, and pretty soon I'll just be floating down the middle of the river by the best runs on the bank. I got to go, hey, Dad, pull on the sticks, get me over there for a look. And so I end up casting probably farther than I should, and I should just fish where I'm at. There's fish everywhere throughout the river, but I can't help but want to reach that bank line or that big deep run or get a swim right through that spot. And so I've got a lot of line out, probably too much line, and I'm casting too far. And I'm stripping in, and the wind in the Madison Valley blow your line around a little bit. In the belly of my line, in between my first eyelet and my reel, so that belly in my line, as I'm stripping back in, all of a sudden that belly of the line is in the water. Well, it's a sinking line, and so it sinks, and that belly hooks around a rock. So now I'm floating down the river at 7 miles an hour or 5 miles, whatever the river's doing or whatever. And the belly of my line is hooked up underneath the surface. And there's like, if I could have thought about it, it just all happened so quick. And you're trying to make the right move. So I try to grab the belly of the line and hold on to it, hoping it'll pull out from that rock. So I'm holding the belly of the line, but then I've got my fly hanging out, and my fly's getting all the way sucked to the tip of my rod. And as we keep floating down at 7 miles an hour, it's still pulling line. So I grab it, and it's not going to bust my fly line. It starts stripping because fly line is about 50 pounds or 70-pound test, and I just have it with my hand. And all of a sudden it starts sucking line out, not from the reel, from the top of the line, and it's sucking my rod to the top and then snaps my rod. And then pulls all three of my top sections. It's a 4-piece rod. Pulls all three of my sections into the water. And then my fly's hooked to the tip of the rod, and so it goes to the loop of that line and then snaps my fly off. I lose all three sections of my rod, lose my fly. The only thing I save is my line and the bottom section of my rod. And I just stood there just like, what in the heck just happened? It just all happened so quick. But, I mean, what do you do? It's like I'm fishing out with my dad. I've got a day out on the river. I got the Madison Valley out here. It's like a lot of days I have to work. I'm blue collar. Like, I can't let it ruin my whole day and make me upset. I mean, I can't help but be a little bit upset. Pull over. I look for the rod floating down. It wasn't my dad's fault. It was my own fault. Just one of those things. So I look for my rod floating down and don't see it. And so, just switch up rods, keep fishing throughout the day. It was actually pretty good fishing. Dad caught some, and then, I ended up getting a few towards the end of the day or whatever, and ended up having a great trip, and I didn't let it ruin my day. But gosh, I was so hot at first, so mad at myself. And maybe there was nothing I could do, or maybe there was a move I could have done. We couldn't get the boat pulled over. It was just in a bad section. I don't know what I could have done. Maybe ran my line to my backing, and maybe I would have gambled losing my line, but I wouldn't have busted my rod. I mean, maybe that would have been the smarter choice. I don't know. But anyways, all said and done, I thought, well, gosh, I just bought this rod not too long ago, but, if I lose $300 on a rod, all the fishing enjoyment I get, it's not that big a deal. Whatever. I'll just pay for it and it'll be done. And I got back and I called the company, and then the company said, no, we'll replace it for you. Send it in that bottom section. Let us know what happened, and send you $35 and we'll replace the rod. What a great warranty. It's that Temple Fork rods. It's a great rod. So they replaced the rod for me. I got my new rod back and fishing it again. Had to fish my backup for a while, but those are a couple of my bonehead moves for the springtime. So, you fish enough, you just you're bound to have a few things happen. You just try to minimize that, and try to keep your stuff together. And could have been way worse too. So not that big a deal to get my arms wet and then break a rod that I get replaced. So just is what it is. But yeah, I've been having fun fishing with my dad, fishing with buddies, fishing by myself, fishing with my dog. It's just been a great spring. I cannot wait for the summer season. I'm having a lot of fun doing this podcast. So thanks you guys for all the support, the downloads, listening to this thing. It really helps me out. And yeah, hoping we can make this podcast go. I have so much passion for fly fishing and being out and exploring these different rivers and adventure. It's just so fun to share my own journey with you guys. And then some of the conversations I'm having, it's just like that hunting world, like being tapped into it, hanging out with people that are better or equal fly fishermen than me. Same thing with hunting, having these in-depth conversations and being able to compare and contrast. And I wasn't sure there was enough content, when we started the fly fishing pod. What am I going to talk about the whole time? But it's amazing. When you're passionate about something and you have like-minded people on, the conversation just comes easy. And sometimes, it's not even the direction you thought the podcast would go. But just had some great conversations, and I'm really finding my feet with this podcast. I'm learning a ton, improving myself, which is also going to improve the podcast, and then just some great guests, including that one I just recorded in the middle of this solo podcast, but just a great recording, and got some good ones coming up for you guys. But I just can't thank you enough for the support. Just really want to make this thing go, and so that the reviews, subscribing helps me the most. I mean, just listening to this podcast helps me the most. Getting those download numbers and building an audience, to where eventually, we can monetize this podcast. Hopefully, So yeah, that's the goal. Is for me is I'm all about the content and the guests and trying to bring you guys that entertaining, motivational, improve your game kind of podcast. And so, yeah, just going to continue to bring you that. But I really appreciate the support on the IG. I'm going to continue to work really hard at this thing and give it a year and see if we can make this thing go. So thanks, you guys. I appreciate it. That's the podcast. We'll get one out for you here coming next week. Finally got this solo done. So good fishing, you guys. Talk to you soon.